Peace and love to my beautiful people. This is chapter 3. My family, let me say this. There's nobody out there right now as excited for chapter 3 as I am. I promise you that. I want to welcome you to the DarusCorbin Mystery School, the home of the esoteric and metaphysical knowledge. Thank you for joining me. Before I go in, I want to explain something right quick. When I did chapter 2, Surviving Jesus chapter 2, when I first did that video, I only had 14 subscribers, family. Going on 2 weeks later, I have 94 subscribers. What I'm saying is, it just couldn't be as big as it's going to be, and it already is without you. You play a very important role in this. You found this channel, so now you're going to get that spiritual work that you deserve. You always knew that you were greater. This physical world has gave you so much, but you still held on. Through all the propaganda, through all the fear pushing, through all the ones close to you that are putting the pressure on you, you survived. Celebrate yourself. Don't ever think those nights where you're by yourself and can't nobody understand, or you feel like there's nobody there. We're there. We are there. Understand you are loved. It's going to get crazy out here, family. You are spiritual beings in the physical world. This wasn't supposed to be easy. We are supposed to be going back to our essence, raising that vibration, and tuning in to the power that you have. My gosh. Anywho, I thank you. Because like I said, I had 14 subscribers. Class was already in session. Now I have 94. So shit just got real. I welcome you all to chapter 3. Surviving Jesus. The Mother Wisdom. Because if you watched chapter 2, and if you did, thank you. Because I know you learned a lot. Obviously you did. It's 94 of y'all now. As to date. You found out in chapter 2 that the God that we were told to praise, worship, glorify, won't he do it twice on Sundays? Wow. You found out that that God in the Bible was a subordinate deity. You found out he had a mother. You found out that mother had a fall even before Adam and Eve supposedly fell from the grace of God. That same God who you didn't know, some of you may know, until recently, he had a mother, Sophia the Wisdom. Now that mother secretly was coded in your Bible as the wisdom or as the dove. So on chapter 2, after you have watched that video, I wanted you to research everything I told you, because just like chapter 3, and it's going to be no different, grab a pen right now, grab a pad. You're going to need it, I promise you. Chapter 3 is on more on the mother. Now, before I get started, I want to give out a PSA, public service announcement, of course. What you are watching right now, family, is the DarusCorbin Mystery School, right? I know it may feel like I just jumped on a scene, but I kind of been here the whole time, preparing for these moments right now. As a divine messenger of Christ in the age of the Aquarius. This is here, the DarusCorbin Mystery School. But if you go to YouTube after this course and type in DarusCorbin channel and hit enter, you will see that I have 97 more video. What the fuck? Family, I have 97 more videos for that ass. I mean, you can literally Netflix and chill with my shit. All you have to do after this is type in the DarusCorbin channel. I have 97 videos. I think on that one I have like 88 subscribers. That took at least 2 years. 94 took me 2 weeks on the mystery school. Huh? Oh, what type of videos? 70, at least 70 out of those 90 are esoteric and metaphysical teachings. For example, I have one, that shit's, it's got to be close to 700 views, no ads. That is Dr. Yakub, the creator of the white race. Check that video out. What else you got, bro? I got one on the Anunnaki as well. What else? I also have one called Black Lives Matter with 3 question marks. I'm actually breaking down who really Black Lives Matter is. But out of all those, as far as the presentation and lectures, one of my proudest ones, and I also have a podcast show on Spotify and iHeart, the DarusCorbin podcast show. It's me in my alien form. Straight up, real shit. But on my DarusCorbin channel, I have the same kind of presentation I did on my podcast, and I'm letting my family, you, know who Sami in Tokyo is. Have you guys ever heard of Sami in Tokyo? By raise of hands. Let me see. I can see you. That's not too many people. Sami in Tokyo was Jesus that came back in 1960. He was a black man. This nigga's crazy. I know you guys think I'm crazy. Not all of y'all, because not the ones watching, at least not my 94. Let me say that again with all seriousness. On the DarusCorbin channel, it's called The Third Secret of Lady Fatima, right? I tell you about Sami and Toko, and Sami should be, I'm trying to get off of memory, Simon Toko, which is Toko. You can Google this man's name. He was a black man in the 1960s from Africa that had the same miracles and does the same stuff that Jesus Christ did. They kept killing this man. The colonizers over there in Africa, the Europeans, kept killing this man. And notice I said kept. He kept coming back alive. This is why I said if you're going to watch the DarusCorbin channel, know who you are. Because you cannot be coming to my channel speculating, and then you watch it, and then you go back to your normal life. You cannot go back to your normal life after you watch my channel. You just can't. Now, let me say this again before I get started with the presentation, because I got a little bit of time today, guys. I have one of my presentations is called The Third Secret of Lady Fatima on the DarusCorbin channel. 97 videos. One of them is The Third Secret of Lady Fatima, telling you about the story of the black man from Africa in 1960 who fought colonizers for his country and had the same powers that Jesus was told and was portrayed in the Bible. He was raising cherubim and cherubim, which are the angels in the Bible. Let me say that slowly. Cherubim and Sephram, angels that we know from the Bible. He was raising them up and having them fight colonizers. They kept trying to kill this man. They would trick him and try to kill him, but he kept coming back alive and rejuvenating. I'm not making this shit up. This is how serious I get with y'all. We are so far behind that we allow movies like Avatar. We allow movies like Guardians of the Galaxy. We allow movies like when they did Gods of Egypt. I think it was X-Men Apocalypse with the blue guy. We allow them to continue to tell our story without us researching this shit. I'm telling you about Simon Tokyo because now I got 94 subscribers. So I would hope my family would research this man. I'm just going to say it one more time because I know repetition is everything. A repetition, is everything. But a repetition can be everything as well too. Simon Tokyo, once again, SIMONETOKO. You can literally Google this man now because I know how some of y'all multitaskers like I am. Or after. He was a black man in Africa who had the same powers of Jesus, raising the dead, coming back to life, all that goodness. And they kept trying to kill him. And he eventually died in 1984 off his own will. The same year I was born. But really do your research also then. And to fast forward before I get in on the presentation, I also have a few videos like when I went to the Dr. Delbert Blair tribute. I went to the Dr. Delbert Blair tribute. Excuse me. Shout out to King Solomon. Shout out to Joel Benjamin. Shout out to Rising Unc, the Red Pillar, Blue Pillar. Shout out to my family. I got a chance to go to the Dr. Delbert Blair tribute in Brooklyn. You can see me doing a little video about that on that channel, DarusCorbin channel. Also, I got a chance, me and my brother Jay went a chance to go see DMX's memorial. It was at DMX's memorial service. I didn't get a chance to go to BIG. I was still young when they had Biggie's memorial service. But I remember the energy when I watched it on the television of the people out there celebrating. When you watch the DarusCorbin channel and you scroll down, you will get a chance to see me at DMX's memorial service in the middle of the streets. The bikes is out there. The slingshots is out there. The cars are out there. Everybody's playing DMX, different DMX songs. The energy is live. So when I say we are family, I am sharing this with you. Because now you have subscribed. Now you are going to know your knowledge. Now this shit is real. And know that you are loved. And know that you are loved. And of course, I have some music on there as well. And lastly, I have the Lucky Shatta, that's SHOTTA. It's called Lucky Shatta Jamaica. I made this channel after I came back from Cairo, Egypt. Yes, after I came back from Cairo, Egypt. I was very elevated when I made that channel, so that's why Lucky Shatta Jamaica came out. Major respect to my Jamaicans. There's a lot of prophetic shit in those videos on Lucky Shatta Jamaica channel. So we have the Mystery School, the DarusCorbin channel. Don't forget about the DarusCorbin podcast on iHeart and Spotify. And now you have the Lucky Shatta Jamaica channel. We are here now. So let's go on with the presentation. Surviving Jesus, chapter 3. Now, I'm going to be here, there, everywhere. I'm going to make it make sense, though. Now, I don't know if I got to this yet because I've been doing some talking. Sometimes I just go. In chapter 2, I broke down who Yadabroth was, but I didn't pronounce it. Remember I was telling you that Yahweh, Jehovah, well, by the early Christians, he was known as Yadabroth, and that's spelled Yaldabaoth. By the early Christians, my ancestors, some of y'all ancestors, they know the same God that you've been praising in your church, they know him as Yadabroth. Well, who was Yadabroth? Once again, like I told you in chapter 2, the name of the demiurge or false god created when Sophia, the mother, his mother, our mother, the universal mother, tried to immaginate, or I'm still working on that word, guys, but trying to conceive or have a spiritual sexual union without the consent of her consort. And she fell. That was the first fall before Adam and Eve. So that's Yaldabaoth, once again spelled Yaldabaoth, or it's Yaldabaoth, or also heard it called Adadabaoth as well. So I'm about to go in, guys. As you know I do. We're going to be having a lot of surprise stuff we're going to learn today. A lot of stuff you may know, a lot of stuff you may not know. But I want to make sure that we are here, we're on the same page, because this is live. This is really live. Let me find that. There we go. Let me read this right quick. Surviving Jesus, chapter 3, the Mother Wisdom. Let's go. Christianity became the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Jesus. Let me say that again, because in chapter 3, we're going to make it make sense. Remember in chapter 1 said, I'm not going to leave you naked. I'm going to cover you at the end. You're about to be covered. Christianity became the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Jesus. In exactly the same way that Mithraism, a few decades earlier, had become the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Mithra. Don't worry, I'll read that again. Christianity became the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Jesus in exactly the same way that Mithraism, a few decades ago, had become the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Mithra. Question to my family. Have you guys ever heard of Mithra or Mithraism? By show of hands, don't worry. I can see you. Have you guys ever heard of Mithra or Mithraism? Don't worry, I got you. Let's see here. Well, you may not know about Mithra, but somebody we know very important and dear to us, a legend, a civil rights movement leader, a Baptist preacher in his own right. You guessed it, Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I got to find this right because this is real. This brother came to me when I was preparing for chapter 3 and blessed me with what you about to hear now. How many of y'all out there by show of hands know the legendary, clap your hands for him, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. paved the way for a lot of us, no matter what you think of that man. We're about to get a lot of closer because of his spirit embracing me. And I used to hear a lot of people saying, you know, the spirits came to me or a spirit came to me. I'm like, how does that happen? But he came to me when I was working on chapter 3, this video right here. Now, let me take a breather right now, because this shit is about to get real. Now, we know Dr. Martin Luther King. You may not know Mithra or Mithraism, but you know yourself some Dr. Martin Luther King. Well, what does the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, and Mithra have in common? Let's find out a little bit about Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you, family. It's about to get real. I told you, this is real. Today, and it's crazy because we just recently celebrated the birthday and celebration of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So I'm going to read this article right quick. One more look at the brother, since we're in the spirit of Dr. Martin Luther King right now. You got it? Because he's here with us right now. Best believe that. Bet. I'm going to read it as it says. Today is observed in the U.S. as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and although I normally do not take this day off, nor President's Day, unless sometimes when I am out of town, this is, of course, the author writing this, I thought it might be appropriate to quote some writings from the late Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister who became best known as a civil rights activist decades ago. Let's stop there. Before I go any further, Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister who became best known as a civil rights activist. I'm just going to say it one more time so we are all clear before I go any further. Okay? Thank you for tuning in. I love you all. Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister who became best known as a civil rights activist. Decades ago, he wrote about many things, including Mithraism. Did you know that? Mithraism was a religion that observed Sunday and had followers such as the Roman Empire Constantine in the 4th century. Yet, this is before Christianity, fam. Martin Luther King knew this. Oh, he knew this. Listen. Here is some of what Martin Luther King Jr. wrote about in a paper dated in November 23rd, 1949. Now, my memory is not all the way right, and I don't want to. I believe Martin Luther King. Martin, you here? Help me out. And the family help me out. I think he left here April 4th, 1968. Y'all let me know. Here are some of what Martin Luther King Jr. wrote about in the paper dated in November 23rd, 1949. And I'm like, what does this got to do with the mother? Listen, we'll get to the mother. But you need to get this. In Avesta, that's Avesta, in Avesta, Mithra, this is Martin Luther King's writing, by the way. He wrote this in 1949. In Avesta, Mithra was the genius of celestial light. The doctrine of the immortal of the soul was another view which was very prominent in Mithraism. Women were compelled to seek salvation in some other cult, for Mithraism excluded them entirely. When Mithraism is compared to Christianity, there are surprisingly many points of similarity. Of all the mystery cults, Mithraism was the great competitor of Christianity. Once again, this is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. writing this in 1949. That Christians did copy, he said that Christians did copy and borrow from Mithraism, cannot be denied. Here are some of his writings dated February 50. So now, that was some writings of him in 1949. Then the next year, he got some more writings, Martin Luther King. He says, Mithraism was suppressed by the Christians sometime in the later part of the 4th century AD, but it collapsed. Seems to have been due to the fact that by that time, many of its doctrines had been adopted by the church, so that it was practically absorbed by its rival. Now, I'm going to stop right there because I'm going to also go with this on Jesus and the Lost Goddess, the book that I'm going to be reading from. At the time of Constantine and emperors like him, you had the Romans and you had the pagans, but the Romans were only a small part. Even though they were powerful, everybody in that Roman Empire were Romans. So everybody wasn't really agreeing on what should be the main religion worship. So just like with presidents and people today, to stay in power and stay relevant to the people and to have the people in that control, you're going to go to a certain degree, go along about what they want. So at that time, the pagans wanted their Zeus. The Gnostics wanted the truth on who Christ was. The Romans just wanted their power. Mithra was already another religion before Christianity. So what people like Constantine did, especially in the Council of Nicaea in, what was that, 425? No, 325 AD, I believe. 325 AD. What Constantine did was like, okay, bring all this together. We're going to work this out where everybody is happy. But that doesn't mean the truth was given. You're just pleasing the people. Not all the people, but the people who you really just want to make happy. So the truth is not really going to be in there, and if it is, it's going to be distorted, is what I'm trying to say. So let's keep on reading some of Martin Luther King's writings that he did in 1949 and 1950. And I appreciate y'all. Don't worry, man. We're going to get to the good stuff, but this is great stuff. What are you talking about? Once again, here are some of his writings dated February 15, 1950. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King says, Mithraism, and I spelled Mithraism, was suppressed by the Christians. The modern day Christians, or what we call, we're going to read the literalist Christians, because they take everything literally. They actually got a name for y'all, literalist. But anyway, Mithraism was suppressed by the Christians sometime in the later part of the 4th century AD, but it collapsed. Seems to have been due to the fact that by that time, many of its doctrines had been adopted by the church. Adopted, swaggerjacked. So that it was practically absorbed by its rivals. Dr. Martin Luther King also says, the church made a sacred day out of Sunday, particularly because of the resurrection. But when we observe a little further, we find that a solar festival Sunday was the sacred day of Mithra. Mithra. It is also interesting to notice that since Mithra was addressed as Lord's Sunday, it is also interesting to notice that since Mithra was addressed as Lord, Sunday must have been the Lord's day. Damn, Christians, you modern day Christians, you literates, you swaggerjack, supposedly, because I'm going to keep it a buck. You're going to have to do, and this is why you do your research, because some people are now debating, I guess after shit like this comes out, but they're saying that Mithra and Jesus, even though Mithraism was earlier than Christianity, that there's no comparison. Like they said, one of the main comparison was they were both born of virgins, but now people are saying that Mithra came from a rock. So, but I'm letting you know what Martin Luther King knew back in 1949, back in 1950, and what he was writing down, and which a lot of our people probably didn't know. Martin Luther King was talking this big talk back in 1949, 1950, and the man died in 1968. So imagine if he actually really had a time to do what he really wanted to do. He probably going to drop some Dr. Umar shit on y'all. Shit. Let's read that again a little more carefully. Dr. Martin Luther King also says the church made a sacred day out of Sunday, particularly because of the resurrection. But when we observe a little further, we find that a solar festival Sunday was the sacred day of Mithra, spelled Mithra. It is also interesting to notice that since Mithra was addressed as Lord, Sunday must have been the Lord's day, long before Christians used it. It is also to be noticed that our Christmas, December 25th, was the birthday of Mithra. This is Dr. Martin Luther King writing this now and saying this, and was only taken over in the 4th century as the date actually unknown of the birth of Jesus. To make the picture a little more clear, Dr. Martin Luther King says, we may list a few of similarities between the two religions. 1, both regard Sunday as a holy day. 2, December 25th can be considered as the anniversary of the birth of Mithra and Christ also. 3, baptism. Remember what Martin Luther King, they said Martin Luther King was a Baptist, right? Number 3, he says baptism and a ritual meal were important parts of both groups. In summary, he says, we may say that the belief in immortality, a mediator between God and man, the observance of certain sacramental rites were common to Mithraism and Christianity. And the author says, now the author going back after Martin said his thing, notice that Martin Luther King Jr. clearly understood this Sunday church, and this is what I want to make clear, Notice that Martin Luther King Jr. clearly understood that the Sunday churches dropped the Sabbath, that the Lord's Day essentially first meant the day of Mithra, and that the world churches did adopt many practices from Mithraism. Much of what is now called Christianity is a compromise with the religion of Mithraism. I wish that Martin Luther King Jr. and others would have emphasized this aspect of his writings more. I want you guys to soak that in, because I want to go to another Another topic on Martin Luther King doing this. During the first semester of his second year at Krosner, and that's spelled Crozer, King, Dr. King, wrote this paper for Eslin's, and I think that might be his teacher. It's spelled Enslin', for Eslin's course on Greek religion. Did you know that Martin Luther King took Greek religion? But anyway, listen, Mithraism, a set of Zoroastrianism characterized by the worship of Mithra as a defender of the truth, was a monotheistic mystic religion. We're going to fast forward. The teacher gave Martin an A. Estlin gave the essay an A and wrote, and I quote, he said this around 1949, 1950, the teacher said this to Martin, and I quote, this is a exceedingly good paper. You had given a very complete picture of the essential details, and you have presented this in a balanced and restrained way. And furthermore, you know how to write. I think that was a slight kind of diss on black people, but I may be wrong. You should go a long way if you continue to pay the price. Did you know his teacher said that to him? Around 1949, 1950, after he turned this paper in, the teacher of Dr. Martin Luther King, after he got an A on that paper on Mithra, said, this is an exceedingly good paper. You have given a very complete picture of the essential details, and you have presented this in a balanced and restrained way. And furthermore, you know how to write, Martin. And so you should go a long way if you continue to pay the price. Now, my question, 31-minute mark, once again, going on, do you think that Dr. Martin Luther King paid that price? It's the Blue Lotus tea, by the way. All right, let's go on. Once again, Jesus is the Lost Goddess. Make sure you grab this book, The Secret Teachings of the Original Christians. I'm going to start off with this. Christianity became the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Jesus in exactly the same way that Mithraism, a few decades earlier, had become the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being historical Mithras. Mithraism was inspired by charismatic leaders, but none of them was Mithra. The same way that Christianity was inspired by charismatic leaders, but none of them was Jesus. And we're going to start the presentation. I know it's been 30 minutes, but I told you I ain't really worried about time that much. I'm going to start off here. And I'm going to say, you're going to hear the word literalist or literalism. And that's spelled Literalism. Now, when you hear them say literalist or literalism, that means you people in the church right now who won't accept anything else except the word of God, the canonical gospels, the won't he do it ones. The growth of Christian literalism. That's what it says. The growth of y'all, you motherfuckers. Not my class subscribers, but the ones who said, won't he do it? And for my family who are in the Christian set, who know they want it and deserve more, this is for y'all as well. Because I know y'all in the churches. Over the course of the 3rd century, despite the flimsiness of its claims to be authentic Christian lineage, lyricism grew in popularity in Rome and the West, though Eastern Christianity remained overwhelmingly Gnostic. Eventually, however, it was inevitable that the simplistic certainties and offer of vicarious atonement of Christian lyricism would attract more adherents than Christian Gnosticism, with its puzzling promises of Gnosis through mystical transformation. And I'm going to try to make sense of what I just said. They were saying that the people who was just taking the modern day Christian, the Orthodox Christianity that we know of, they were growing in popularity. They were promising people these mystical transformations instead of giving them the inner teachings. They were becoming more popular instead of having people go within inside that self and know the true gnosis. That was dying out because of these people, these literalists, like taking it literally instead of going within themselves. They're focused on the exterior. They're becoming more popular at this time in the Western civilization. Meanwhile, in Eastern civilization, the gnosis is still reigning. As literalists grew, and once again, literalists mean the people who literally take this Christian knowledge, the canonical gospels, seriously and don't go in the inner self. But I'm going to go. As literalists grew more powerful, so did their vitriolic attacks on all other Christian schools. In response, Christian Gnostics condemned literalists for establishing an imitation church, which no longer taught the secret inner mysteries. You are going to a church now for somebody to try to tell you, who are not even trying to tell you, but you are going to church for somebody to try and tell you about yourself when you're supposed to be going inside of yourself to get the true power of the Christ so you can be reunited with the Divine Mother and the Father and know that they are just one, androgynous beings. Is what I'm saying. But the literalists came and backed all the truth up and sugarcoated everything. Are you getting what I'm throwing down? Awesome. Let's read that again. As literalists grew more powerful, so did their... Because you're understanding now what happened, is what I'm saying, and why the early Christians, our family members, got destroyed, tortured, burned. As literalists grew more powerful, so did their vitriolic attacks on all other Christian schools. In response, Christian Gnostics condemned literalists for establishing an imitation church, which no longer taught the secret inner mysteries. Some Gnostics, such as Valentinians, that's Valentinians, tacitly went along with literalism in an attempt to heal the ever-growing rift. Did you hear that? You had some people who knew the truth, but they was going along with the bullshit. They're trying to heal a rift between everybody. Good intentions, maybe, but see where we at now? We're so attached to the physical that the spiritual seems so distant from us. Family. Let me read that again. Some Gnostics, such as the Valentinians, tactically went along with literalism in an attempt to heal the ever-growing rift. Other Gnostics, such as Clement of Alexandria, that's Clement of Alexandria, and his successor, Origen, and I need you to write his name down, because if you all you know is Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, how are you going to get the true stories of who you are? So you can look up this person right here, this brother right here, Origen, and he's one of the Gnostic teachers. These popes and these emperors tried as much as they could for you to not know these teachers. But Origen, what's the other one? I probably will be in the book in a minute. Tertullian, or I'm going to find him in a minute, but I'm going to spell him too. But Origen. And his successor, Origen, embraced the idea of a historical Jesus, but remained Platonius. So we are seeing a problem now. You had these bootleg Christians came, and they were giving these mythical mumbo jumbos to the people, because the people didn't really want to go in. They just want the magic. You know, they want the microwave shit. They don't want to do the work on themselves. They want you to give them something, right? That's what was happening. And you had some people who knew the work that was tactically going along with the bullshit, and you had people like Origen who embraced the idea, even though he knew it was bullshit, he embraced the idea of a historical Jesus, but remained Platonius. That means a follower of Plato. And continued to teach the gnosis in their Christian school. So he was feeding into the bullshit in public, but on the low, still teaching the truth. Christianity grew in popularity as part of a general upsurge of interest in mystery cults, such as the mysteries of Mithras. Over a period of 350 years, Mithraism developed from a little-known Persian cult into a dominant religion of the Roman Empire until at the end of the 2nd century, it was adopted by the Emperor Commodus, and that's spelled Commodus. Let's read that again slowly. Christianity grew in popularity as part of a general upsurge of interest in mystery cults, such as the mysteries of Mithras. Over a period of 350 years, Mithraism developed from a little-known Persian cult into the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. So it sounds like to me, I don't know about y'all, that these Romans and some pagans maybe, but these people were more interested in the mystery cult and bringing it into their power, but still extracting the truth to make it fit to their pagan worlds. Let's keep on going. This is what I'm hearing, at least. You let me know. Until at the end of the 2nd century, it was adopted by the Emperor Commodus, which is spelled Commodus. The Jewish Jesus cult followed in the footsteps of the Persian Mithras cult. Did you hear me? The Jewish Jesus cult, the shit that we've been going to church on, the Jewish Jesus cult followed in the footsteps of the Persian Mithras cult, growing in popularity from its conception at the beginning of the 1st century until 350 years later, in the middle of the 3rd century. It had large numbers of followers throughout the Roman Empire and was adopted by the Emperor Constantine. Now it's starting to make sense, because you got people saying 325 AD, the Emperor Constantine, and then they'll leave you stranded. But if you don't do your research, that's all you're gonna get. So when you're having these debates, and I debate for what? But when you're having these conversations, you'll just jump to 325 AD, and then the Council of Nicaea, and you can't go further, or you can't go back because you don't have nothing. Shit was done way before Constantine did 325 AD, and shit was done after that. He had kids, and their kids did shit, so let's go. Let's read that again. The Jewish Jesus cult followed in the footsteps of the Persian Mithras cult, growing in popularity from its conception at the beginning of the 1st century until 350 years later, in the middle of the 3rd century. It had large numbers of followers throughout the Roman Empire and was adopted by the Emperor Constantine. Within 50 years of Christian liberalism Within 50 years, Christian liberalism was the party line of totalitarian state, which dictated to its citizens the one religion that they were permitted to follow. My people ain't slow. Y'all ain't slow. Y'all is not slow. So let me read that again. Within 50 years, Christian liberalism, that's people who took this shit literally, within 50 years, Christian liberalism was the party line of a totalitarian state which dictated to its citizens the one religion that they were permitted to follow. And you've been that way ever since. A common literalist reaction to the idea that Jesus is a mythological figure is the question: how do you explain the rise of Christianity without it being founded by an inspirational leader? They're saying that's one of the questions that most Christians would ask you. Let me read that again. A common literalist reaction to the idea that Jesus is a mythical figure is the question: well, how do you explain the rise of Christianity without it being founded by an inspirational leader? Mithraism provides us with the answer. Christianity became the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being a historical Jesus, in exactly the same way that Mithraism a few decades earlier had become the dominant religion in the ancient world without there being historical Mithras. Mithraism, like I said, was inspired by charismatic leaders, but none of them was Mithras. In the same way, Christianity was inspired by charismatic leaders amongst the original Christians, but none of them was Jesus. In fact, the myth of Jesus was partly based on the myth of Mithras. The two stories are so similar that literalist Christians claim that in an attempt to confuse the faithful, the devil had created the Mithras stories by mimicking the life of Jesus in advance of his birth. Now, if that's the truth, Christian family, young preachers of them lie right to your face. A bold-faced lie. The two stories are so similar that literalist Christians claim that in an attempt to confuse the faithful, the devil had created the Mithras story by mimicking the life of Jesus in advance of his birth. Y'all some lying. It seems extraordinary that the Roman world embraced the Mithras of Rome's enemies, the Persians and Jews, but the vast majority of inhabitants of the empire were not Romans, of course, and had little sympathy for them. The cults of Mithra and Jesus spread so successfully precisely because they fed on conquered people's resentment of the Romans and represented a form of acceptable dissent. Roman emperors were concerned above all with uniting their disparate colonies. Mithras, Christianity, and other popular mystery cults were adopted by the state, regardless of their national origins, in an attempt to bring coherence to a fragmented empire. Like I said a while ago, the reason this shit flew is because you had empire. They knew to keep the people happy. All right, you want this? You want this to say what? Okay, what y'all want? All right. Fuck them over. That's what happened. Where we at? Christian literalism was an ideal candidate for the job. It was exactly what a Roman despot like Constantine required: a populist and authoritarian religion. A populist and authoritarian religion which had freed itself of agnostic radicals. Took us out. You can give the people what they want without them worrying about trying to go in within themselves to know the truth. Although Christian literalists rejected the Gnostic inner mysteries of Christianity, they continued to portray Christianity as a mystery cult. Phrases such as "this is known to initiates" continued to be roughly used, but they were now little more than empty words. As Christian literalism grew in power, it adopted more of the trappings of the pagan literalism. It replaced, let me read that again. As Christian literalism grew in power, it adopted more of the trappings of the pagan literalism. It replaced. So the more Christianity grew, the more it stole from the pagans. It's like, yo, we take DJ Khaled, we taking over your shit. It's like coming to somebody's hood block or whatnot, taking over the whole block and still applying some of their rules and shit. But still under your umbrella. That's what Christianity, modern day literalist, apologist Christians, because that's a word too, apologist Christians. Let me read that one more time, slowly. As Christian literalism grew in power, it adopted more of the trappings of the pagan literalism. It replaced. Its ritual processions were identical to those of the pagan cults. Although Jesus has specifically said, "Call no man father," Christian literalists adopted the mythic practice of calling priests father. You ignorant motherfuckers. We got to be adult about this now. So a lot of you might feel this arrogance within me. It's passionate, whatever. My family know. But seriously, we have been so far behind because we have let Christianity and other religions dominate us with this hyper masculinity. Oh boy. And for the ones who make it to an hour, this shit really about to get real, because I told you chapter 3 is called what? The Mother Wisdom, isn't it? I'm just getting started. In 15 minutes, I'm just getting started. Ain't that a bitch? As Christian liberalism grew in power, it adopted more of the trappings of the pagan liberalism it replaced. Its ritual processions were identical to those of pagan cults. Although Jesus himself had specifically said, "Call no man father," Christians, you Christians, and bishops, and all the other good shit, adopted the Mithra practice of calling priests fathers. In imitation of the Mithric bishops, Christian bishops wore a mitra or mitri, that's M-I-T-R-E, and carried a shepherd's staff. Eventually, the bishops of Rome took up the title Pontifex Maximus, and that's spelled Ponifex Maximux, the ancient name for the pagan high priest, a title still held by the Pope today. Christianity, Christians, modern day Christians, Orthodox Christians, if you can't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth, what I am saying in layman terms is your whole style has been swagged. There is no truth in your shit. It's all has been watered down, sugar-coated, tampered with, tainted. Bootleg. Not even a good bootleg, too. Motherfuckers are standing up in your videos. Shit. Now, we in 15 minutes. You ready for the work? You ready for the work? I know you've been getting the work, but I told you, chapter 3, I'm giving you everything. I shouldn't have to do a chapter 4, unless you guys request it, and I do a bonus. Now, the suppression of women. What? Women were suppressed in Christianity? Shut your mouth. My sisters, you know it's time. A lot of you are now coming into your spirituality, women. You notice this. Even before a lot of men do, you are coming into your spiritual. You have had, even in the DarusCorbin channel, watch after this, I got so many videos on Sophia, on the Mother God, it's ridiculous. Because she's within me, within all of you. What I'm about to read, if chapter 2 didn't get you upset, because remember I asked you, ladies, are you upset? I didn't really feel it. I got a feeling after this, I'm going to feel it. You are going to feel it. Women, my sisters and me too movement, who fight for everything, it seems like nowadays. How come you do not fight for the suppression of you as divine feminines on this planet? The Matrix. Sister Myra says the first 2 words of Matrix is Ma, M-A. The triple blackness scientists, when they tell you that there's it's 98% dark matter that they can't even account for, that is coming, that I think already came our way, is here. This dark matter, research it, family. There is 98% dark matter that is just entering our atmosphere now, and scientists cannot define it. But we can, because we know it's the triple darkness, and we know it's the mother. They can't stop this. Why do you think all this is going on now with the pandemic? As above, so below. It's time to get at work. Mama's back. In the age of Aquarius, it is time for you to know the truth about mother. Let's go in. The suppression of woman. Well, I feel like one of those, at this moment, one of those overweight, heavy brothers that be preaching and shit. You know, I gotta, the suppression of woman, it's time for y'all to get that work now. For my sisters to know that you are more powerful as goddess, as a divine mother, as nurturers of the cosmos, as well as this planet. Literalist Christianity took as a scriptural backdrop the Jewish Old Testament with its patriarchal monotheism. It therefore vigorously suppressed the idea that there was a Christian goddess. Let me say that again. Literalist Christianity took as a scriptural backdrop the Jewish Old Testament. That's what you worship, right? That's your book. With its patriarchal, hypermasculine, male-driven, that's me saying that, but they say, with its patriarchal monotheism. What's monotheism? The worship of one God. Henotheism is the worship of many gods. Monotheism was its patriarchal monotheism. The worship of a male God, that's it. Close the door, forget about anything else. It therefore vigorously suppressed the idea that there was a Christian goddess. Women, you know this. They have said that the woman on her menstrual cycle should be confined and cleansed and only come out until she is done with that issue. They say that the woman shouldn't even be allowed to preach, but yet you got you. This is what I'm confused of, women, and you should be too. Let me say that again. In the ancient time, the same religion that you go hard for and claim you know that God in every Facebook post and Instagram post, he said, and the religion that backed him said that when you were on your menstrual cycle, you were dirty and should be confined to a room until you were cleansed of your issue. The same religion that said you ain't even supposed to be preaching. The hell you don't know this podium, woman. But yet it is our mothers, our mama, our pop-ups, and now the new generation of women. And I gotta say this, I don't care how y'all feel, but you know I love you. You know what, ladies, you know I love y'all. But you have, because you love my mom so much and pop-up as well, you don't even question your religion. So what you do is what? So what you do is you just go off the energy of my mom and pop-up. You have channeled that energy so much that, yeah, God is an awesome God. You won't question it. Just for that love of my mom and pop-up, you go, because it's similar, it's remnants. I understand, trust me. You're just going off of what my mom and pop-up was doing. You're not researching, this is what I'm saying. And some of you do it for attention as well, to get likes. Am I lying? No, of course not. Why would I? But the people's need to, let's read that again. Literalist Christianity took as a scriptural backdrop the Jewish Old Testament with its patriarchal monotheism. It therefore vigorously suppressed the idea there was a Christian goddess, but the people's need to relate to the divine feminine, let me say that again. The people's need to relate to the divine feminine was too strong, as it is today. But the people's need to relate to the divine feminine was too strong to be ignored, and the void was quickly filled in 431 CE. A Christian council met at Ephesus, I do believe that's Ephesus, met at Ephesus, previously the chief site for the worship of the pagan goddess, and bestowed the title of the ousted goddess upon Mary, the mother of Jesus. Oh my God. For the ones who hear this time, though, this is who I do this for, y'all. I get all the good stuff out early and bring the great shit. Because this might be 2 hours. It might be. Let's read that again. But the people's need to relate to the divine feminine was too strong to be ignored, and the void was quickly filled in 431 CE. A Christian council. Remember, you focus on 325 AD and Constantine and the Council of Nicaea. But as I said, there were councils way after that did a lot of damage as well, as we're hearing about. In 431 CE, a Christian council met at Ephesus, previously the chief site for the worship of the pagan goddess, and they bestowed the title of the ousted goddess upon Mary, the mother of Jesus, honoring her as the Queen of Heaven. And Theotokos, which is Theotokos, which means Mother of God. Protestant literalists would later condemn this elevation of Mary, but ironically, it was actually a demotion. For the original Christians, Mary had always represented the goddess Sophia, Queen of Heaven. Some of y'all are probably going to read this shit and still go to church on Sunday. And that shit going to mess with your head. For the literalist, she was merely a mortal woman. Sad. Special only because her son Jesus was divine. Me Too movements. I gotta ask you this question again. You go hard at so much shit, right? But you won't go hard on the religion, the biggest group that are probably the reason why a lot of you women are the way you are today. Because once you suppress a energy like the woman, everybody suffers on this planet. Do you hear me? Once you suppress the divine energy of the divine feminine, everybody suffers. So you have to look at homosexuality a lot different now, especially the way that the Tantra looked at homosexuality. Because now you have these trapped divine energies and they can't get out. You have trapped a mother. So what do you think is going to happen with these energies that's coming out the way they are? They're going to be trapped and they're going to go into bodies that you probably wouldn't even think would go in. I'm not justifying all the way around, but that's probably a major part of the pie that you don't want to slice and digest. Let me read that again. Mary had always represented the goddess Sophia, Queen of Heaven. For the literalist, I mean the people who take this shit literally, she was merely a mortal woman, especially only because her son Jesus was divine. Ain't that a bitch? Because of a man. She was only divine because of a man. Me too, where you at? You better get some calls up. Literalists put an end to Gnostic ideas of equality between the sexes. They interpreted the Jewish Genesis myth as literal history, as literal. Literalists put an end to the Gnostic ideas of equality between the sexes. They interpreted the Jewish Genesis myth as literal history, with terrible consequences for women. Women were no longer seen as spiritual partners with men, but the descendants of the evil Eve, because of whose sin, even the Son of God had to die. Y'all gotta excuse me. It's like the energy comes out when I cannot see how you guys don't get upset with this. I cannot see how you go to church and praise this God. Woman, I cannot understand how you go to church and praise this deity and know that your energy, that you are a true representation of the cosmos of the Divine Mother. Why you question your sexuality. Why you are not free and liberated as the true mother is. Why you let the father energy and the churches dictate who you are. I'm telling you the truth now. So if you don't listen to this truth and you continue to be who you are, suppressed, defected, that's on your own merit now. I'm going to read that again. Literalists put an end to the Gnostic idea of equality between the sexes. They interpreted the Jewish Genesis myth as literal history, with terrible consequences for women. Women were no longer seen as spiritual partners with men, but the descendants of the evil Eve, because of whose sins even the Son of God had to die. Augustine wrote to a friend, "What does it matter whether it is a wife or a mother? It is Eve, the temptress. We must beware of any woman." I'll say that again. Augustine wrote, "What does it matter whether it is a wife or a mother? It is Eve, the temptress. We must beware of any woman." Literalists play down the importance of women. Now, I gotta keep stressing this. When I say literalist, I mean the people who literally take the Bible for truth. The ones in Sundays every day. J-E-S-U-S, Jesus. Jesus. The ones who follow Matthew, Luke, Mark, and John. The canonical Gospels. The ones who look at me as I'm saying the Nag Hammadi scriptures are the truth and the non-canonical Gospels. They look at me saying, "Nigga, bullshit." Listen what they did. The ones you're going, women, ladies, sisters. You're going to church. And this is what these church people think of you. Literalists played down the importance of women in the Gospels to endorse their policies of making them second-class human beings. This reversal of attitudes toward women in Christianity is symbolized perfectly by retelling of the fourth gospel, known to us now as the Gospel of John. If it is to bear any name at all, it should be the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. This gospel claims to be written by an unspecific beloved disciple. It is a tribute to John solely on the basis of the literalist Irenaeus, and it's a person's name. I'm trying to spell it. Irenaeus, Irenaeus. At the end of the 2nd century, claiming he had a childhood memory of being told that the gospel was written by the disciple John. Bullshit. So I'm telling you that this man, Irenaeus, who was a big time Gnostic hater, only time that you people in church probably even knew about the Gnostics was this dude writing it, and he was a fucking hater. Anyway, at the end of the 2nd century, claiming he had a childhood memory, he was claiming that he had a childhood memory of being told that the gospel was written by the disciple John, according to the Gnostics. According to the Gnostics, though, it was written by the Gnostic master Cerinthus, and that's Cerinthus. So we just caught a literalist Christian by the name of Irenaeus, spelled Irenaeus, in a whole lie. He said at the end of the 2nd century, claiming he had a childhood memory of being told that the gospel was written by the disciple John. But according to the Gnostics, who were the early Christians, before this motherfucker was probably even born, it was written by the Gnostic master Cerinthus, which is Cerinthus, at the end of the 1st century. Modern research suggests that the beloved disciple he makes to the narrator of the story is not John, but Mary Magdalene. Mary is clearly identified in other Gnostic sources as the beloved disciple, the disciple that Jesus loved, the companion of Jesus, and so on. As scholars have noted, the gospel of the beloved disciple has been modified, creating obvious structural flaws in order to turn the beloved disciple Mary into the male figure of John, who was more acceptable to misogynist literalists. Let's keep going, Darius. Let's keep going. As their confidence grew, literalists, we should now know who literalists are, aka hey haters. As they grew, attacks on Gnostics became ever more virulent, and that's spelled virulent, creating the distorted picture of Christian Gnosticism still prevalent today. In a classic case of psychological projection, the Gnostics were misrepresented as the diabolical heretics that the literalists had actually become. Did you hear that? They were misrepresented as the diabolical heretics that the literalists had actually become. So you had these fake Christians claiming that the Gnostics were the fake ones, when in actuality, they were the fake ones. Although it was literalists themselves who were preaching an exclusive religion and arrogantly condemning all other faiths as evil, they accused the Gnostics of being puffed up sectarians and named them the Catholics or Universal Church. The Catholic, that's Catholic, Catholic or Universal Church. Although Gnostics philosophy teaches all is one, and the literalists preach an irreconcilable war between God and the devil, literalists portray themselves as monotheists and the Gnostics as dualistics. Although it was literalist Christianity that had begun a suicide cult, teaching its adherents that the way to salvation was to actively seek a matriarch's death. Its later followers vilified the Gnostics as world haters. Ain't that a bitch? So, I want to go into the other page. I'm trying to remember what that page was. And I got so much more. Trust and believe. This is where I want to start it at. The false father. Bear with me, family. Maybe 179. But there's another divine wisdom, divine feminine energy, and I know I wrote this down. And this is to my religion family now, to my Islamic family. I want to read something right quick. And I might leave off with this. We'll see. Y'all let me know. I don't mind doing a part 2. Or do I? This will be part 3, 4. I mean, I don't mind doing a bonus one is what I'm trying to say. But my next presentation after this is going to be called, well, it's going to be based on the anima and the animus. For those who know the yin yang symbol, you have the white and then you have the dark. I do believe the dark represents the divine feminine. It's a freestyle guess until I get to that presentation. But I do believe the dark represents the feminine. The white represents the male. But what I'm saying on both ends is there are those dots on the yin yang. So on that one side, the feminine, and that dot on the feminine side, that dot represents the masculine that is inside that, the archetypal divine male that is inside the feminine woman. And on this side, you have the other dot that represents the divine feminine that is in every man, the anima and the animus. We're going to do an amazing presentation on that. But for my Islamic family, and I'm going to say this to my Islamic family because I love y'all too. I love y'all so much. Just like with Orthodox or literate Christians, with Gnostics, and not putting that work on the Gnostic's name and not giving respect to the Nag Hammadi scriptures, to my Islamic family, we have an issue as well. I'm going to be brief with this. A lot of you guys give respect to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but you guys will disregard Sufi and Sufism. Just like Gnostics is to what Christianity is, the hidden religion or the hidden truth of that religion, Sufism, S-U-F-I or S-U-F-I-S-M, is the hidden knowledge to Islam. Sufism brings the divine woman back into the Islamic religion. So before I end this, and I was trying to find it, maybe I'll find it after the end. I want to say this right quick. In pre-Islamic Arabic, El-Lat was the warrior goddess of the military and of love, solitude, mercy, as well as vengeance, and the looted spoils of war. She was made to be the daughter of Allah. In some legends, Allah's consort. The Prophet Muhammad later changed his mind and decided to no longer place the pagan Arabs, or no longer place that, and that's P-L-A-C-A-T, the pagan Arabs, by twisting Islam to become more compatible with their beliefs, thus disavowing Alat in the process. And that's spelled A-L-L-A-T. So major respect to my Islamic family. But did you know that? Just like with the Prophet Muhammad and Allah, before Allah was worshipped, there was a goddess worshipped before Allah. Just like in Christianity, they took the goddess out and replaced male figures like Allah. So now we have a whole issue again. It's a universal issue. The power of the divine feminine was so powerful that these matriarchs, didn't matter what region, had to take out the woman based on the fall of Sophia. They equated that if she is the reason why we're down here, then the woman must be disregarded from ever being worshipped again. Statues were taken down. I'm going to read that again. In pre-Islamic Arabic, Al-Lat, and that's A-L-L-A-T, was the warrior goddess of the military and of love, solitude, mercy, as well as vengeance, and the looted spoils of war. She was made to be the daughter of Allah, some legends Allah's consort, his wife. The Prophet Muhammad later changed his mind and decided to no longer placate the pagan Arabs by twisting Islam to become more compatible with their beliefs, thus disavowing Allah in the process. Still in his quest to spread Islam and suppress Allah, deep following following, still in his quest to spread Islam and suppress Allah's deep following, the Prophet Muhammad specifically called for the destruction of her temples and statues, which were widely eradicated during his lifetime. Later on, his previous approval of Allah was written off in legends as, and I quote, satanic verses, incident where he was tricked by Satan into supporting her, though modern Muslims do not give credence to this incident due to Islam's teaching about how the Prophet is theologically immune to demonic trickery. So it said Allah had 3 daughters. One was Alat, I think it's Manat, M-A-N-A-T. She was the older sister, and Al-Uzza, or A-L-U-Z-Z-A, who was the youngest daughter, the daughter of war and protection. Did you know that? So I encourage you guys to study Sufism. Inshallah medubela, Inshallah medubela, Inshallah medubela, Inshallah medubela. Sufism, S-U-F-I. Now, I might end it on this note, especially if I don't find that one chapter I was looking for. But I thank you guys for tuning in. This is the DarusCorbin Mystery School. Like I told you, if you want tonight, you can Netflix and chill with the DarusCorbin channel. I got you. 97 videos. Like I said, some of the videos you'll see me in Brooklyn, in the streets of Brooklyn, celebrating the life of the legendary DMX. In some videos, you'll see me. I just came out of Dr. Delbert Blair's tribute. Shout out to King Solomon, Joel Benjamin, Rising Onk, Red Pillar, Blue Pillar. Red and Blue Pill is what I'm trying to say. My brothers. So, let me see if I can find this for you. Let's read this right quick. And Plato's, and some of you guys know Plato. We was taught, some of us was taught Greek mythology and shit like that, so we should know Plato. In Plato's analogy, the aim is to escape the cave. Well, let's read up on the cave right quick. The gospel story begins with Jesus being born in a cave and climaxes with him ascending from the cave. Earlier, we suggested that the Christian image of the cave was derived from Plato's famous allegory of the cave in the Republic. From the Christian myth cycle, we can now clearly see that this is true. In Plato's analogy, the human predicament is compared to being imprisoned in a dark cave, where we mistake as reality the shadows on the walls, which are cast by people walking to and fro in the sunlight of the outside world. For Plato, the people in the outside world represents the archetypal ideas which structure the appearance of reality, and their shadows represent the world of appearance we inhabited. It goes back to chapter 2, where I'm telling you that we are entrapped based on the Gnostic teaching and the teachings on even in the Vedas in India, that we have failed. In our fall, we have adopted these physical bodies. We are trapped until we realize that our bodies is not who we are. That is not our true makeup. We are spiritual beings having this physical experience. In Plato's analogy, the human predicament is compared to being imprisoned into a dark cave. Did you hear that? The human predicament is compared to being imprisoned in a dark cave, where we mistake as reality the shadows on the walls, which are cast by people walking to and fro in the sunlight of the outside world. For Plato, the people in the outside world represents the archetype ideas which structure the appearance of reality, and their shadows represent the world of appearances we inhabit. In the Christian myth cycle, this becomes the archetypes of the pleroma, mistaking as the imperfect images of the kenoma. Some of you have heard of the pleroma, yes, but how many of you have heard of the kenoma? K-E-N-O-M-A. On the origins of the world, and some of y'all should have already have downloaded some of this on PDF or at least ordered the book. Because on the origin of the world, if you watch chapter 2, I told you about that. This is what it says. On the origin of the world, a Christian text describes the goddess as a veil which divides the light of the pleroma and the darkness of the konoma. Human beings exist in the darkness of the konoma, mistaking shadows playing on the veil for reality. The shadows are cast by the light of consciousness, illuminating the real archetype world of the pleroma. Are you getting this? So to me, it sounds like we are in this cave, this physical cave, which is the konoma, a bootleg version of what is being projected by the pleroma. Let's read that again. On the origin of the world, a Christian text. Ooh, they gotta hurt Christians, modern day Christians, because it's still a Christian work. So if you deny this, you deny your truth. On the origin of the world, a Christian text describes the goddess as a veil which divides the light in the pleroma and the darkness of the konoma. Human beings exist in the darkness of the konoma, mistaking shadows playing on the veil for reality. The shadows are cast by the light of consciousness, illuminating the real archetypical world of the pleroma. In Plato's analogy, the aim is to escape the cave and enter the real world of light which lies beyond. We are shackled in the cave by our identification with the body. Ooh, we are hour 20 minutes in. It's getting raw. It's not even getting real. It's getting raw. In Plato's analogy, the aim is to escape the cave and enter the real world of light which lies beyond. We are shackled in the cave by our identification with the body. The one who sets himself free is a true philosopher or lover of Sophia. In Christian mythology, Jesus, the ideal initiate, is the lover of Sophia who dies to the Idilion, or we knew by chapter 2 that means the image. So let's read it like it is. In Christian mythology, Jesus, and when I say Christian mythology, it's still what you guys go in church and believe in. That's Christian mythology. Gnostic is the work, the real shit. In Christian mythology, Jesus, the ideal initiate, is the lover of Sophia, who dies to the image on the cross, ascends from the caves and enters the, and I quote, treasury of light, which is the pleroma, or kingdom of heaven. In the Republic, Plato wonders what would happen to someone. Ooh, is this? This is what I was trying to tell you in chapter 2. Remember where I was like, man, about people who would tell people the truth? Listen what it says. This is what Plato says. In the Republic, Plato wonders what would happen to someone who have escaped the cave and discovered the real world. Returned to set his fellow prisoners free, he concludes that the prisoners would not be at all pleased to be told that they were caught up in an illusionary world of shadows. If it were possible to lay hands on a man who tried to release them and led them up, would they not kill him? Think about that. A lot of us have the same teachers, and thank you to the JJ channel and Masterly Foolish. Thank y'all for letting my platform become a part of y'all platform. Think about the people like myself, the people in Jesus' time, Jesus himself, who has escaped the cave. You who are escaping the cave of what they teach. This is you. You have escaped the cave. A lot of you, and I want to say this PSA right quick. A lot of you haven't even. You get this knowledge, and the first thing you want to do is convince other people. I've been there myself. You try to convince other people, and then you get hurt yourself when people don't want to relate to your ideal thinking or your gnosis. Even though you know the true shit, you convince other people, then get butthurt because they don't want to agree, even though it's the truth. Everybody is not woke. A lot of people are dead. And still within saying that, people have the right to believe what they want to believe. If people want to believe in Jesus and he was a historical person and he actually walked the earth, let them believe that. You have the right to believe what you want. They don't got to breathe it down people's neck. 94 people chose to subscribe to me because they knew that they were more. I cannot expect thousands more to come, they may, out the churches and believe what we're talking about here, even though it's the truth. They have been doctrined, programmed. There has been so much done in the name of Jesus. They have been programmed. Let's read that again. Plato wonders what would happen to someone who having escaped the cave and discovered the real world, which is the spiritual world, returned to set his fellow prisoners free. That's what Jesus did, right? Or attempted to do, right? Jesus went to Egypt. Suppose the Christ went to Egypt. He learned these magical spells. He got initiated. He went to Tibet, learned Reiki, the healing of the hands. Reiki, R-E-K-I, the healing of the hands. Came back home. And I got a video on my DarusCorbin channel called Mark 6:4. You know, a man was such honor accepted in his hometown. I'm paraphrasing, but you know. He came back. Now he knows the spells. He knows all these healing powers. And he brings it back home where these people don't want to hear it because they still entangled into this physical Christian mythology that has been fed over the years. They will kill you for this shit. They have killed many of people, have they not? Till this day. Speak that truth if you want to, boy. Come a sacrificial lamb out of this bitch. This is, of course, exactly the fate the gospel writers chose for Jesus in his role as the savior of psychic initiates, come to set us free from imprisonment in the cave of illusions. The mob that he will redeem turns against him and has him killed. It doesn't matter who teach this. If any one of us become popular to the point where we gather a bunch of y'all and y'all start reading this stuff, and we get too popular, if the ego, even the ego, if it gets too ahead of itself, well, that's destruction, self-destruction with that one. But if we start making a name for ourselves and people start coming together, the collective consciousness start coming together, and we start shutting down the Vatican, we start shutting down the structure of a government, and we start getting our powers, and then when we do that, the celestial beings in space are now going to know that we chose a great free will of knowing the higher gnosis. They will definitely come to kill us. And they're so good at it now, they can have your own people kill you. My gosh. I'm going to finish off with this. And before I finish off, guys, I think I started off without even doing what I usually do. What's this? I started off, and y'all know what it was, the disclaimer. I don't think I gave y'all a disclaimer today. And no man putteth new wine into old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish. But new wine must be put into new bottles, and both are preserved. Quote, end quote. If your mind is filled with convictions, you cannot learn new things until you get rid of the old way of thinking. One must empty their cup. If your cup is full, how can you put anything else in it without making a mess? One cannot. When we hold on to conventions, the knowledge that we receive will not be taken incorrectly. It will be misinterpreted. The message would be misconstrued. When we have conventions that we identify with, one of the two things happen. If we find the message threatening, we either block the message where we become mental deaf to it by acting aggressively, such as saying, and I quote, "I can't listen to this right now," or, "Hey, you're too deep." This is one reason. The other way the individual protects their belief is to misconstrue the information to the point where it will no longer be threatening. Meanwhile, they didn't get the real meaning of what was said to them. And I know my family is not doing that. I know my elite enlightened ones ain't doing that. Rose crystal, it's been with us the whole time. Love. Rainbow fluorite, it's been with us the whole time. Love. Ancestor money, to those known and unknown, been with us the whole time. Anubis. In the cave at Jesus' birth are Mary. Oh, I'm sorry. Now we're on to the false father. The false father? There was a fake father in Christianity. Well, I guess you didn't watch chapter 2 then. Because if you did watch chapter 2, if you did watch chapter 2, if you did watch that, family, then you know that there was a false father. In the cave at Jesus' birth are Mary and Joseph. But in our previous analysis of the Jesus myth, we saw that Jesus' mother represents the pagan goddess of justice at the entrance of the cave of the cosmos. That might have been what I was trying to get to you. Was that the one I was trying to? Anyway, from Ptolemy's, and that's Ptolemy's, from his myth, we can now see that in Christian mythology, this figure is the mother Akba. And I don't think last video I spelled Akma from you. Remember, I told you there's different versions of the Divine Mother. You got Lilith, which was in the Garden of Eve. Damn, I said Garden of Eve, excuse me. Which was in the Garden of Eden before Eve. Lilith was in the Garden of Eve with Adam before Eve came along. Then you have Barbelo, that's Barbelo, I believe. Then you have Akmat. These are all different aspirations or versions of the Divine Mother. And Akmat is spelled Achamoth. From Ptolemy's myth, we can now see that in Christian mythology, this figure is Mother Akma, sitting at the mouth of the cave of the Konoma in the Ogdoad, and that's Ogdoad, from where she oversees the process of reincarnating and spiritual essence into human bodies to continue their journey of gnosis. Did you know that? Just below Akma in the seventh heaven is the demiurge, the false god. With Mary in the birth cave is Joseph, the false father of Jesus, the Son of God, who represents the demiurge or craftsman. In the New Testament, Joseph is described as a craftsman. According to the Gospel of Philip, it is Joseph, the craftsman, who made the cross. After his crucifixion, Jesus is buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea. And you got to learn about Joseph of Arimathea because he played a big role in getting Jesus off the cross. Because there's so many levels of Jesus that, man. The repetition of the name Joseph, as with the two Marys, is not accidental, but is designed to equate the two characters mythically. Thus, Joseph finds the cave in which Jesus will be born, makes the cross on which he will be crucified, and provides a cave to be his tomb. Jesus, the archetypal initiate representing each one of us, is born, meets his fate, and dies in the material realm, the cave of the Konoma, ruled by the demiurge. Are you guys getting this? Damn, we almost 2 hours. This probably will be my longest presentation I ever did. But I want you to understand this. So I'm going to read again, slowly. Mother Akma is sitting at the mouth of the cave of the Konoma. That's the physical. And the Ogdoad, Ogdoad, from where she oversees the process of reincarnating the spiritual essence into human bodies to continue their journeys of gnosis, of knowledge, of wisdom. Just below Akma, just below the mother, we had this talk in chapter 2, now we're just getting really in depth with it. Just below the mother in the seventh heaven is the demiurge, the false god. With Mary in the birth cave is Joseph, the false father of Jesus, the Son of God, who represents the demiurge or craftsman. In the New Testament, Joseph is described as a craftsman. According to the Gospel of Philip, it is Joseph, the craftsman, who made the cross. After his crucifixion, Jesus is buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, spelled Arimathea. The repetition of the name Joseph, as with the two Marys, is not accidental, but is designed to equate the two characters mythically. Thus, Joseph finds the cave in which Jesus will be born, makes the cross on which he will be crucified, and provides a cave to be his tomb. Jesus, the archetypal initiate, representing each one of us, is born, meets his fate, and dies in the material realm, which is also the cave of the Konoma, ruled by the demiurge, but actually we are in the cosmos, not of it. You ever heard somebody say you are in this world, but not of it? That's what they're saying. We are in the cosmos, but not of it. Our real father is not the demiurge. Listen to what I'm saying. The God that you praise in your Bible, whether it's the Old Testament, the New Testament, the remix by P. Diddy and DJ Khaled and Jermaine Dupri, I'm trying to tell you guys, that Bible, that God in your Bible is not our real father. Does God exist? Yes, but it's not the one you're praising to that's giving you the remixes. Shout out to P. Diddy, Jermaine Dupri, DJ Khaled. Obviously, they're best at what they do. But I'm going to have some fun with it. Let's read that again. The cave of the Konoma ruled by the demiurge, but actually we are in the cosmos, but not of it. Our real father is not the demiurge, representing the limitation. Our real father is not the demiurge, representing the limitation of psychophysical existence. Like Jesus, we are children of the ineffable mystery of God. Our real father is not that God in the Bible, who is representing the limitations of the psychophysical existence. No, like Jesus, we are children, people, of an infallible mystery of God. Polygamy portrays the ignorant demiurge as having no knowledge of his mother Akma, Christ, or the primal parent, and so arrogantly proclaiming, I am God and there's no other God but me. And y'all guys know this. He said this in your Bible and you still rocking with this shit. He was a jealous God. He's also man jealous? Where did he do that at? Now, mind you, this is no shade on the demiurge because, like Lucifer, like Satan, all these people have been redeemed. And a lot of them are sitting on the seats of the 20 and 4 elders, which I know I got a seat in that chair. He proclaimed, the demiurge, that he was God and there was no other God but him. And so doing so, polygamy, which is spelled P-T-O-L-E-M-Y, deliberately equates the demiurge with Jehovah. Deliberately equates the demiurge with Jehovah, the God of the Jewish lyricism, who famously announces the same preposterous nonsense in the book of Isaiah. Damn, they said who famously announces the same preposterous nonsense in the book of Isaiah. They said that shit was nonsense. Damn. By equating Jehovah with the demiurge, the original Christians harmonized Jewish and Platonic mythology. They made Jehovah the creator of the cosmos as he is the Jewish scripture, but they made him equivalent to Plato's figure of the demiurge, the mediator between the one and the cosmos. For Plato, the demiurge is not a negative figure, but the original Christians distanced themselves from Jewish lyricism by deliberately portraying the demiurge Jehovah as an ignorant deity under the higher authority of Christ and Akma. In the New Testament, Jesus is portrayed as seeming to be the chosen Messiah of Jehovah. The Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke give us two completely contradictories genealogies, which trace Jesus' lineage back through Joseph to King David, so that Jesus appears to be from the line of David, as Jehovah's Messiah was expected to be. But actually, Jesus is not the son of Joseph, and he is not the Messiah of Jehovah, the demiurge. Indeed, he comes to overthrow Jehovah's tyrannical rule in the name of the true God of love. He comes to replace the laws and prescription of Jewish liberalism with the freedom of Gnostic realization. He comes to teach that although our psyches and our bodies are under this jurisdiction of the demiurge who created them, our spiritual essence given to us by our mother Akma and is beyond the control of Jehovah and his entourage of cosmic powers, which are better known as the archons, like I told you. We are of the pleroma. We belong to the kingdom of heaven. God damn. I'm going to read that again. In the New Testament, Jesus is portrayed as seeming to be the chosen Messiah of Jehovah. The Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke give us two completely contradictory genealogies which trace Jesus' lineage to back through Joseph to King David, so that Jesus appears to be from the line of David as Jehovah's Messiah was expected to be. But actually, Jesus is not the son of Joseph, and he is not the Messiah of Jehovah. He is not the Messiah of Jehovah, the demiurge. Indeed, he comes to overthrow Jehovah's tyrannical rule in the name of true God of love. He comes to replace the laws and prescription of Jewish liberalism with the freedom of Gnostic realization. He comes to teach that although our psyches, people, listen, although we in this world right now, they got this pandemic and they putting fear upon you, this is not your world. You are just in this body. Hold on. Just keep holding on. He comes to teach that although our psyches and bodies are under the jurisdiction of the demiurge who created them, our spiritual essence was given us by our mother Akma and is beyond the control of Jehovah. How many of you can handle this? The God in your Bible has no control over you. Surprise! The secret's out. So you understand to do with thy will a little bit more. You should be focused on the love of the mother and the divine father, not the demiurge you praise in the Bible. Although the psyche and body are under the jurisdiction of the demiurge who created them, our spiritual essence was given to us by our mother Akma and is beyond the control of Jehovah and his entourage of cosmic powers. So when my spiritual sister, especially when y'all be talking about the zodiacs and the love of the zodiacs, and you guys are all over the zodiacs, understand the zodiacs, like the archons, control your destiny. It was your destiny and something else. They control you as long as you fall under the spell of the zodiac. So long as you saying, okay, you're a Capricorn or you're a Taurus, you're like this. And if you do that, you're only doing half-assed of the work. Understand that the zodiacs are the archons. They are the cosmic powers that are controlling you with the help of the demiurge. So if you're giving all your power to the zodiacs, then you are not giving the love to your true divine self, and you're taking away from you and the divine mother. Let me read that again so you can understand what I'm saying here. Although our psyches, our mind, and our bodies are under the jurisdiction of the demiurge right now, the God that you praise in the Bible, although our psyches and bodies are under the jurisdiction of the demiurge who created them, our spiritual essence, that divine spark inside us when we leave here, was given to us by our mother Akma and is beyond the control of Jehovah and his entourage of cosmic powers. The zodiacs are cosmic powers, family. We are of the pleroma. We belong to the kingdom of heaven. In the Jesus myth, the figure of Pontius Pilate also represents the demiurge. Some Christians taught that Pilate, that's spelled P-I-L-A-T, made an image of Jesus which was crucified instead of Jesus himself. This myth encodes the teachings that the demiurge, the craftsman who creates Jesus' body, the Eidolon, E-I-D-O-L-O-N, or the image, which is what is actually crucified on the cross. Through the death of the image, Jesus defeats the demiurge and his forces, which have temporarily imprisoned him within the cave of the cosmos. Paul teaches on that cross, he discarded the cosmic powers and authorities like a garment. Paul also reminds initiates who have symbolically died and resurrected with the figure of Jesus that, did you not die with Christ and pass beyond the reach of the elemental powers of the cosmos? Because as long as you got this physical body, there are certain elements. Like I tell people, before you worry about the demons, worry about the elements and the parasites that control your body right now, especially the elements. You're not the only one in your body right now because you have this body that has control over you. The elements and the cosmic powers do too. And until you recognize these archons, Until you recognize these cosmic powers, you will be forever governed by the zodiacs. So it would be easy for somebody to do any reading or astrology on you. And many respect to my people who study astrology and astronomy, but even they know that it's more to them than zodiacs. Zodiacs are the archons, Archons. That's God's Goonies. Now I'm about to finish up soon. See if there's anything else I want to touch on. I thank y'all so much. We give you some images. Yes, that is the Ankh. Before I go, and if I gotta do another bonus one, y'all let me know. If y'all don't want no bonus video, because there's a lot more on this. If y'all want a lot more, you let me know. If you want me to do a bonus one, you let me know. For my family, a lot of y'all be like, yo, you should do a Cash App or whatnot. You know what I mean? Give the people your information, all that woo woo woo. The DarusCorbin channel has 97 videos. You can Netflix and chill with those. I did those videos for you. If you guys feel like you want to contribute $1, $5, $10, $20, whatever you want to contribute, I appreciate it. But you don't got to. You don't got to. But if you do, best believe it, that money will be going to a bigger podcast. Bringing a vision to my podcast show that's on iHeartRadio and Spotify. Bringing this more into a global thing. Because once you watch the DarusCorbin channel after this one, the topics that I'll talk about are amazing. So if you want to do a Cash App and hit me up on Cash App, that Cash App is going to be the $ DarusCorbin. Just so you see it right there. The $ DarusCorbin. Oop. I appreciate y'all. Before I leave, there's some books I want you to pick up. Oracle of the Illuminati. You can learn more. I did it on my mystery school. Some of y'all might have seen this. I did some lectures on this one. Y'all gotta realize, because in the future, nanotechnology, like it is in 2022, it's going to be the wave of the future. Nanotechnology is going to be the wave of the future, but here's what I want you to know about nanotechnology. Nanotechnology has been around before the time of Jesus the Christ, or the historical Jesus you know is what I'm saying. Nanotechnology has been around since the days of Christ. Was it King Nimrod, Nimrod, was using nanotechnology. You need to pick up this book by William Henry. He also has The Cloak of the Illuminati. Nanotechnology is very powerful. It's the cloak of Christ. You heard it here first. Nanotechnology is the cloak, CLOAK, of Christ. Another book, which for anybody who's close to the Eastern Shore or down south to Virginia, take a trip to the Edgar Cayce Arts and Research Enlightenment Center, ARE, in Virginia Beach. It's my sanctuary. I go there to relax, get away from the modern day world. They have a whole esoteric book collection there. All of Edgar Cayce's, Edgar Cayce, Cayce. He was the Nostradamus of our time. He would go into trances, leave the body. He would have a patient in the next room. If the patient has something wrong with him or ailing him, some type of ill, he would go through a trance and heal him. He also had connections to the Akashi records, the records of God. so he can travel and be in trances and go all the way back to Atlantis, the lost civilization continent of Atlantis. Before Atlantis, there was Lemuria. Lemuria. What is Lemuria? I think it's Lemuria. Lemuria, or it might be